Yeah, I had the PDF.
Yeah. Right. Well, I've got the correct versions for all of them. So
Wow, that's nice bragging.
yeah, it's called having being best friends with George Lucas. Actually,
Oh, you got George Lucas's editions of the Young Jedi
yeah,
Knight
it's got his
books?
personal notes on it and everything. Just says,
Wow.
"Wow, this sucks."
It's every time Jason and Jaina show up. Why didn't I think of this first?
Yeah.
Well, there was that conference where, or I think it was a convention where he said the words Han and Leia's kids, and that meant that he signed off on the entire expanded universe, right?
Yeah, I actually do remember that. That was after he had sold out to the mouse, though, right? So he was probably just messing with people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where's my notes? They're on my phone in Keep Notes. So I have my usual phone here, my standard phone. But starting
Oh,
soon, I'm going to get a lot more epic with this giant gamer phone.
are you showing it off on stream? Hold
I
on, let me.
am.
Have
But
you got around to trying it yet? Do you
I
like it?
have. I haven't put my SIM card in. I haven't like made the full switch yet,
Okay.
but I'm I'm slowly working up to it. I've got to build up the wrist strength to hold this for long periods of time because it's like
You gotta
six
stretch. You gotta do
pounds.
your finger stretches as well. You gotta get a
Mm.
little more length.
But yeah,
Pretty epic.
we're live.
All right. Should we start the intro and get on with it?
We should. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Tapcaf Transmissions, one of two Star Wars podcasts. Did you know that, Justin? That there's other Star Wars podcasts?
I didn't, but I will say this one now has 100% more gamers because
Because of that
Corey,
phone.
yeah, Corey's got a new phone and it's pretty epic. What's the other Star Wars podcast?
I was making that up. There actually isn't any
Oh,
other
okay.
one. This is the only one.
Okay.
But
My,
hope everyone
mm,
is doing well. I am Corey and joined, as always, by my illustrious co-host,
mm,
Mr. Justin EckhartsLadder. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you, Mr. Corey?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
just good. Just good.
Well,
I will
just well.
say, my stomach did sort of, like my heart fell into my stomach when you mentioned that we were one of two Star Wars podcasts. But
Yeah. Well, I think Star Wars Explained has been on other podcasts, but they were like mostly
hmm
Halo and MasterChef America podcasts, I think.
hmm yeah,
But because he's on there, they count as Star Wars podcasts.
right.
And
Okay.
like he'd have to make the Kessel Run to get beyond the Outer Rim uh, to get on any of those other podcasts. But but
All
yeah,
right, gamer. Let's talk about this week. Any exciting news? We had that Mandalorian
the
trailer number
best.
2.
Yeah, and on the one hand, it was a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it was fine because I don't care that we don't know a lot going into Mandalorian season 2, and I don't want to know a lot going into Mandalorian season 2. I was going to watch it regardless, and I didn't want to be spoiled on anything, and I'm not spoiled on anything.
I will say it does show. I think that they're confident about the series,
Hmm.
about season 2, because they haven't felt the need to drop any Baby Yoda 2.0 to get us hooked in. That doesn't mean that there won't eventually be a Baby Yoda 2.0, but it kind of means that yeah, there. This show's good, and it's just like with season 1. If it was a bad show, or if it were a bad show, they probably would have had Baby Yoda in the previews because, I mean, it's a really cute Baby Yoda thing.
Yeah, and at this point, we're making our way up to toddler Yoda, uh, and then I
Mm,
guess like preschool Yoda,
mm-hmm,
kindergarten Yoda. I'm not
mm-hmm.
exactly clear on all the stages of child development, to be honest. I used
He
to
doesn't
be
even have
one, but
object permanence yet. He's still got a while to go.
hmm. Permanence or permeance?
I think you said the right one.
Okay. Well, I said both, so
Yeah. I think when you corrected me backhandedly, I think that was the correct one.
okay. There. So
Uh,
we were talking about, was it last episode or two episodes ago, where we started off talking about how we don't like each other. We just have at
mhm.
most a grudging respect, like Adam and Jamie of the MythBusters,
Yeah.
and that was supposed to be a joke. Alleged. I mean, no, it wasn't. It's totally accurate. But then you get to the end of the episode, and it's the last thing is just you telling me to fuck off. So it was good. It was a nice bookend to the whole podcast. But we are here not to talk about our relationship. That's for Burial Cart later tonight over on X2. What a plug. What a plug. We are instead going to be talking about a little book called Star Wars,
Lightsabers.
The Young Jedi Knights, Book 4, The Shadow Academy series, Lightsabers.
Ascendancy.
Chaos Rising.
yeah, I mean...
So there is a lot of Chaos Rising in this book, so I think that's actually more accurate.
Well, I would say that there's chaos threatening to rise, but never truly rising, because... All right, so I want to talk a bit about Luke's philosophy. Exargun's philosophy when it comes to training students. We get at the beginning of this book the fact that Luke's like, all right, shit's getting real, and like we're gonna have to step up the training.
Yeah.
And for one, like Luke, you haven't really been training them at all. Like you've been letting them run around in the forest. But okay.
Well, should before we get too deep into the do's and don'ts of running a Jedi Academy, should we do a quick rundown of the it's called plot? So this section, as Valerie in chat is pointing out, is actually called Jedi Sunrise. I don't have the printed version in front of me, and I'm not entirely sure my ebook copies are what we would call official. So it doesn't say the arc names, but I do remember that.
Like, I had the. It's like a yellow book. I had that when I was.
Yeah.
Good call, Valerie. You want to talk about the plot, do you? Which is what I was getting to.
Well, yeah, I think we should do like the rundown, like we've been trying to do, and then sometimes
how about
forgetting
that?
to do.
How about then you shut the up, and maybe I'll get to it.
Okay. Just do it.
Okay. So we've got the Shadow Academy and a kind of looming threat. So Luke decides that Luke's 4 favorite students, the privileged 4, really just Jaina and Jason and the 2 people that they've kind of dragged along with them, plus a droid, now are ready to learn and build their first lightsabers. So they build their lightsabers. There is a tragic accident at the school, and Tenel Ka loses her arm, and then they go to the Hapes cluster for a month, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Well, Tenel Ka has to find herself.
Yes.
And they kind of do that. There's an assassination attempt. But why does Luke not... Let's not bury the lead here.
Okay.
Why does it mention Tion's alien eyes?
Yeah, right? I had to Google that afterwards. I was like, what? But she do got some weird eyes, though.
What does that mean? She's human, right?
Well, she's near human. If you Google it, she's got like these like... I don't know. What was her last name at this point? I know she's a Soul Usar later, but she's a near human. And if you
I thought her near human version was just human.
Well, if you look at her eyes, they do be looking kind of alien-y, though.
All right. I don't remember. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kind of strange. But basically, Luke is scrambling because he hasn't taught anybody anything at this point. And
Brackus has taught them a lot of stuff. And Jason keeps referencing, I'm just going to do what Brackus told me to do.
Yeah, Jason, you mentioned that you kind of texted this to me, or told to me on stream last night. Jason starts to get a little Kai-to-see around this point. Early on, we start to see a few cracks showing. I think even the first crack is during his battle with, or his practice duel, where he's almost like egging on Tenel Ka a bit, I thought.
Well, there's that, and he's also talking about how he's going to like channel his pain.
Yeah,
and I felt like, am I reading Darth Bane again?
Yeah, but no, because it's good. But there's definitely gonna be some sort of Reddit thread about like, wow, this podcast sucks. You know, it's bad when they like young children's books more than Darth Bane, and yeah, this book has some nuance in it, which is nice.
They're just shitting on legends by comparing it to other legends.
Yeah.
Fence sitters.
Yeah.
How can you say Legends is good, but also say some parts of Legends are better than others?
It's honestly just kind of rude that we do that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I forget, what were we talking about before we got on the
Luke's
alien eyes thing?
incompetence.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about. I was gonna. The joke was that you barely talk about the main thing there with the lightsabers, but actually, I went off in another direction and instead went for a minor point that was irrelevant.
Okay. Yeah. So again, more just complete bull from Corey and just completely disrupting the flow of the podcast. Anyway, now I can't. Okay. The thing I want to talk about is like Luke at this point is completely failing. He's scrambling to make Jedi because honestly, the Young Jedi Knights haven't been doing anything. And in this, Luke so what happens is Tenel Ka and Jason get into a lightsaber battle. Tenel Ka's lightsaber fails. And
they're
Jason
sparring.
They're sparring. Sorry.
Before anyone gets the wrong idea here.
Yeah. They have a lightsaber battle later on as well, if you know what I mean. Well, one of them has a lightsaber, but anyway, Tenel Ka's lightsaber fails, and Jason cuts through her arm. There's a lot of problems with this, and she loses her arm as well. There's a lot of problems with this. First of all, is there no training settings here? They are fighting with full blades. Second of all, Tenel Ka's main issue is that she is not really embracing the Force or being a Jedi. She believes ultimately that she should have to rely on herself physically. So up until this book, whenever she gets in a fight, she's relying mostly on her Force power. I mean, on her physical powers rather than, the Force. She kicks Tamith Kai in the shins in a pretty epic moment. She's always kind of going out of her way not to use the Force. And I feel like that's something Luke should have picked up on because she kind of just haphazardly constructs her lightsaber. So it's Luke didn't notice that. Luke didn't have them use training sabers, and then it's just big psychological scarring for everyone involved.
Yeah, I feel like at the bare minimum, Luke should have been like, hey, these are the parts you need, and then when you're done, I will look at what you've made. And I feel like that's the absolute bare minimum. Instead, it's here's the anarchist cookbook, make me a dirty bomb, and then...
Jaina's don't worry, I've got batteries in my room.
Yeah.
Epic.
Lobaka literally does the equivalent of me going upstairs and taking apart my TV, turning that into a lightsaber, and being it makes colors.
Yeah. Did he make his out of his Skyhopper? I can't remember.
No, he went to an old display from the...
Oh, yeah, right. He was going over all the old Rebel stuff. He's got a CRT light bulb in there.
Yeah.
as a crystal. Because back at this point, it's you don't have to use special crystals from Ilum or anything. It's
no. Any crystal works.
Yeah, Jason uses the one he got from the... Is it a Corsica gem? Is that what it is? I forget. Yeah, from the Yavin... Corsica gem from the gas giant. Jaina makes her own crystal, which I thought that was a pretty cool scene, even though it kind of gives Jaina a pretty big boost in her Force competency, I thought.
No, you're kind of just guiding a natural process and making it faster.
Yeah.
And
she's just seeing things on an atomic level.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not too upset about it.
No, I'm not. I liked it. I'm not saying it was bad. I quite enjoyed it, seeing her kind of improve her power. And that's one thing that's nice about the fact that there's 15 books in this series. We're not seeing huge jumps of one day they're a Jedi Master. It's we're actually seeing small progression. Because in the first book, they didn't use the Force at all. And in this book, they're starting to kind of lean into it a little bit more. I'm sure by the end it'll be much, much more. So that's Jason has the Kruska gem. Jaina makes her own. Lobaka gets his from an old TV, and then Tenel Ka goes in a volcano and gets hers.
Yeah, and she just grabs the nearest thing, the first crystal she finds, and then they all have some impurities in it. She's like, oh, whatever. Because Tenel Ka's big thing is she wants to be relying on herself and not a weapon. So she doesn't see the distinction between properly constructing your weapon and then relying on it rarely, and improperly constructing your weapon and hoping that your skills are going to make up for the fact that you have not properly built your lightsaber. But they do get some training with their real lightsabers before they end up swinging them at each other, because they do the remote thing. Luke has a bunch of the helmets sitting around, which they're specifically getting rid of like red light, so it's filtering out red light in this.
And the remotes are painted red. I enjoyed that scene.
But this is fine for Tenel Ka, Jason, and Jaina. What Luke does for Lobaka is take the blast visor off and tie a strap to it to go around his head. Now, these are like hard plastic or metal even, and that is just strapped directly to... That just sounds so incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it didn't sound very fun. I mean, Lobaka's had the most abuse throughout the entire series at this point. Like, he's the only one who really has to deal with anything at the Shadow Academy. Like, Jason and Jaina basically just have to wear black for a couple days. Lobaka's like getting outright tortured and high pressure water shot at him and stuff.
Yeah, it's basically the adventures of Lobaka and his 3 rich friends.
Lobaka's called a pet in this one. Yeah, it's not very epic for him, but I like that scene. That was kind of cool. Reminded me a bit of what we got in episode 9 as well. For one, because the remote in that one's red, but also because Tenel Ka ends the battle by she chops hers in half, which I thought was kind of interesting one. Yeah.
But we get the duel. Jaina and Loie have a nice fight. Finishes with Jaina doing a front flip over Lobaka's head, I think.
And they're just like, well, that's over.
She had the high ground. It's over.
Yeah.
And then we get to Jason and Tenel Ka, and they're like taunting each other, like you were saying, going at it. And then they do the thing where they're like leaning up against doing the saber crush thing where it starts crackling, and then Tenel Ka can't hold up to the to the stress of that, and it literally explodes.
It just KCs and blows up, and I like that because it was like there's literally nothing Jason could have done really, like with his level of training anyway. But there's still no way he's not going to feel guilty, so he's kind of dealing with that throughout the whole book, which was cool.
And ironically, by arming these children, Luke also disarmed one of them.
Yeah, so after that, as we mentioned, Tenel Ka returns because Tenel Ka is she's the spawn of 2 characters from the courtship of Princess Leia, Talenial Joe and Princess Older, one from the Dathomiri side, one from the Hapen side. So she's returning to Hapes. Is she on Hapes or Hapes itself? I think she is, right? The capital planet.
When she's recovering.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on Hapes because they're at the palace and then they're at Reef Fortress.
Right. And her grandmother's there, and I remember when I was reading this that Jason tortures the shit out of her, the grandmother in Legacy of the Force.
Oh, I thought you were like in this book. Like, what edition were you reading?
No, remember he tortures her with like brain electricity.
Yeah, Jason is not great to Tenel Ka's family by the end of it, because does he behead a soldier?
Yep, yeah, he decapitates a soldier. Yeah.
Between Tenel Ka's parents, I wonder who is older. Huh?
Oh, fuck's sakes, Corey.
But yeah, so Tenel Ka's grandmother basically thinks this is going to be the end of Tenel Ka's strange dreams of Jedi-ness, which she's always been hoping Tenel Ka will come out of because she's the sole heir to the Hapen throne. There's no other siblings that she has, and Hapen politics are terrible.
Advantage of it.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, no arm, no Jedi. You can be a politician, though. And so she's stuck there. She's wearing the Hapen finery for the first time. And that is the symbol of her losing her own way. But after the accident, she's not able to talk to her friends. Luke keeps her in the little medical bay, and then Tachum comes and grabs her. But it seems like just Hapes has to be the most dangerous place for a Hapen royal family member to be. There's way too many assassination attempts.
Yeah. And that's a consistent thing, too. Like, there are multiple times. I think that happens once little Alana comes. I think there's a couple of assassination attempts against her.
Yeah, that's why she's gallivanting around the galaxy on a Millennium Falcon all the time.
Yeah, which is definitely much safer. But what was I gonna say?
Is Tenennial still alive by then? I don't think
Uh,
so.
doesn't she die? I thought she
I
died.
thought she dies in the Vong War at some point, but
Doesn't she get really depressed or something? Because
Well,
doesn't she lose another child or something? Or am I getting them mixed up?
does she? Tenennial?
Maybe I'm getting them mixed up. Hold on.
I forget
Yeah,
what
yeah. Tenennial suffered a force-induced miscarriage. Yikes! That left her semi-catatonic. And then she's executed by Tachum.
Okay. So
Tachum's not very cash money.
yeah.
Yeah.
So by the end, it's just Tenelka and Alana that are left because Jason offs Tachum and Isolder. Tenennial's dead. Yeah. And I guess Tenelka's got to like watch the whole consortium, and they're all breaking up because of the Second Galactic Civil War, and all the houses are being terrible. But here we get the ambassador who thinks she's going to be Ambassador Yafra, who thinks she's going to be in charge of everything.
Yeah,
which
her plan is awful. So basically, Yafra wants to take out as many members of the royal family as she can, I guess, including Tenelka's grandmother, Tenelka herself, and then kind of just assume power. And she almost gets away with it too, but for those meddling kids. But also the fact that, like, the Hapen royal family, the rest of the royal family was only gone for like a bit. Like, they would have returned at some point.
Well, she was trying to also kill Tenennial and Isolder. Yeah. They had an assassination attempt against them as well. But there's like every other royal house to go through first.
Yeah.
Unless there's some like Hapen law of proximity that I'm not aware of, where by being closest to Tachum when she dies, then Yafra becomes queen by default. Which
her soul's in me, I swear.
Yeah.
So
Tachum takes a page out of Palpatine's book and does an essence transfer to Alana.
Oh my god. It's Tachum who was the one standing or on the throne of balance or whatever that Luke kept seeing in his dreams.
Jason?
I think Luke sees it too, but yeah, also Jason.
Yeah. That whole vision really fucks things up for Jason.
Yeah, well, they all have different visions, right? Jason's... Because I'm pretty sure Luke and Leia have like a happy vision.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we read those later.
Yeah, we got a lot of Jason development to go through, and it starts earlier than I thought.
The year of Yu Zhan Vong to get through as well. Yeah. I mean, we still have, what, this is book 4? We still have, is it 15 of these?
There's 14. But I honestly think for some of them we'll probably end up, once we're back, maybe we'll combine them or we'll do some other books and intersperse them.
Oh, interspersed. Yeah, I'm not saying we do all 14 in a row, but I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying these so much I don't want to dedicate anything less than a single episode per book.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But we have... I have one more note of something that I really needed to talk about. And the PDF version of this ebook, because it's of how it was made, it occasionally has the word lightsabers and a page number thrown into the sentence randomly. And there's one point where it lines up just perfectly. I think it says like Jaina ignited 50 lightsabers. And it's like, wow, this is Luke, you're really elevating their...
It's like the Kreia, like lightsaber levitation effect, just up to the max. I like
Jaina mastered it in her first week. It's super impressive.
I have a couple of interesting notes here. I mean, we still have to talk about the Zek storyline, and I mean, we didn't talk about the details of what happens. Basically, the kids all go to Hapes for a while, and they go between a few different places, and that's all good fun. It's honestly just like a lot of the book is just kind of the kids like bonding and stuff after trying to get over the trauma of the sparring session.
I don't like that, like, Jason and Tenelka never come together and realize who's really responsible for this. Like, yes, Tenelka screwed up. Yeah, Tenelka screwed up building her lightsaber, but she's also, counterpoint, a child who should not have been building a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, did they not read Romeo Dallaire's book about this?
Romeo Dallaire. They should have just watched that one episode of George Stroumboulopoulos, The Hour with George Stroumboulopoulos, and it would have covered all that.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Me too.
Is he still doing things?
He's on Twitter, but I don't think he's...
Everyone's on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't think so. I've got a fun little thing I noticed from this book, though. You know how... so Tachum sets up Tenel Ka to meet with like one of the species that lives in the consortium.
Yeah.
And for one, Tenel Ka is just kind of really rude the entire time, and it's like her kind of let's go girl moment, and she's crushing it and everything. But the species they meet is called a Marin, and in canon, that's the species that the Borgullet was a part of.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you would enjoy that because you would like that movie a lot.
Yeah. I do. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. That really recontextualizes the scene for me. Because I was thinking with the size that they were described as in the book, or seem to be described as, their little tentacles wouldn't be able to just grab fish. But if they're the size of Borgullet, then yeah, if they're all Borgullets. And I did think Tenel Ka was being like just terrible at her job.
Oh yeah.
When she was doing that at first, but then when she pulled out her last card at the end of the conversation, like, actually, you guys knew about this and you did this.
Like, you fucked up now. You fucked up now.
Yeah. But yeah, so that whole thing should have just been proof that Tenel Ka maybe shouldn't be in charge of things, political things.
Yeah.
When her response isn't initially, when her response isn't you're being obstinate, it's I have better things to do than care about your petty squabbles.
Yeah. Not some lacking leader. I mean, she's only like 14 as well, but still, she's just meeting with the fish people anyway, or the octopus people.
Wait till Akbar hears about that. I did think it was a little inappropriate that Tenel Ka gets to Hapes, and like the first thing that's there is basically strippers.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, yeah, they're just like talks about multiple times how they're like just wearing loincloths, and like one's doing like a
somersaults and stuff. It's like, yeah, this guy's hot, but where are Jason, Jaina, and Lobaga?
Listen, I'm gonna lay it out for you. If you're doing a loincloth and you're doing a handspring, your nuts are out for sure.
It depends on if it's secured at all sides.
But it's a 14-year-old. It's not worth taking the risk, I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, maybe don't have that as the entertainment for the kids.
Agreed.
But we do, so we get some more of the fact that like Jason's got a crush here on Tenel Ka, but we get the first What?
They were getting close to a kiss scene, I think.
Well, they had a few holding hand scenes, but have we gotten to the point at this juncture where we've established that Tenel Ka is also actually interested in Jason as well? Because this seems more just like one-sided. Tenel Ka's like friends, but just not that into you, or oblivious that he's that into her.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that develops throughout the series. Spoiler alert: they have a kid later, but
basically on a one night stand as well.
I think the only thing that we get that kind of indicates her having any sort of feelings, that it could be just because she feels guilty about the lightsaber thing, is with like the room setup where she's like, oh yeah, Jane is gonna like that. Lobaga, here's your fucking blank wall with a stick on it. But Jason, please like this giant fish tank room.
Yeah, which would be awesome. Giant fish tank room.
I'd love that.
It's like the Slytherin common room. I'm reading Harry Potter now, guys, so expect lots of references as we go through.
Yeah. So Jason has a fish room.
Jason has a fish room.
What are the logistics of switch? Because it's Loey that's on an outside wall. What are the logistics of retrieving the inevitably dead fish?
Yeah, at first I thought it was like maybe it was just a glass wall like under the ocean, but yeah, I don't know.
That sounds like slightly penetrable in a fortress that's supposed to be impenetrable. So
you'd think so, but they also use transparent
I
steel in
guess.
starships. Although, as a counterpoint, General Grievous does kind of just kick through or knock through one of those with his little staff thing. So Star Wars is probably just dumb.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. We've reached the final conclusion of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I liked is one scene. It describes Tenel Ka as throwing stones with her good arm. I was like, yeah, that does make more sense.
Thank you for the clarification there. I do like how there was one afternoon where Ifra is telling the kids, oh, first off, there's a bomb in the banquet hall, which explodes. And then that's when they go off to the fortress, I think. And Ta Chum is like heading out to do the investigation. So I just kind of pictured that as an episode of Murder, She Wrote, where this old lady is going doing this investigation. But Ifra is, I guess she's nominally in charge of them after that point. And so she sets up a wave skimmer for them. They're going off on an adventure with autopilot, and she tells them, oh, I've plotted the course for you. And they get sent out into this like weird, gross area with some seaweed that tries to eat them. But you'd think that, like, curious as all four of them are, they would have been like, hey, where are we going? And checked the autopilot and noticed, wait a minute, there's no return course here. If I was plotting an assassination, I would maybe chart them out to there, but also put in the return course, because the thing that's going to kill them is the seaweed and not the fact that they don't have a return course. At that point,
exactly.
At the very least, you get your stupid skimmer back.
It's just like, are they even worth training as Jedi, or is Luke kind of fucked up here? Because they're 14 or so, like they're not 8. Like,
well, they've been training for long enough, and
that's what I mean. Like, and they still kind of walked into this trap, and we get lots of talk about how sick everyone is with computers, but apparently not.
They're just trusting, and they were focused on other things. But like, we know much better Jedi who've sprung the trap before. Obi-Wan and Anakin walk into traps like every 3 minutes, and if you say that Obi-Wan and Anakin weren't qualified to be Jedi, then who was? People who wouldn't murder a bunch of children?
I was gonna say, yeah, Anakin definitely not qualified. Just look at my notes. What else do I have? So I have some fun notes for this book. I'll just read you my notes sheet. First, I wrote Luke hasn't trained them, now scrambling, yes. Then I wrote arm scene. Then I wrote Luke's fault, Tenel Ka force. Then I wrote should Luke have told them about Tenel Ka's lineage, because they don't know at this point. Then I wrote Marin Borg Gullet, and then I wrote kind of rude Tenel Ka. And then I wrote throwing stones with good arm, and then I wrote stomped with great pleasure. And that's all I want to talk about. Okay. Because they fight those bugs at the end, right?
Yep. And that was foreshadowing to the fact that Jaina and Loie at least decide to join a bug colony.
Yeah, they do fuck the bugs. But like, they're pretty goddamn violent with these bugs as well. The stomps thing is like, Chewbacca curb stomps one of these bugs and takes great pleasure in doing so. Lobaka. He literally stomps the thing's head. Yeah,
I do like the fact that we get Zek's storyline contrasting this, because he kills Villas around the same time. He's like, I might have to actually kill someone. Meanwhile, you switch the chapter back to that was like, Jason, head goes roll.
Throw him out the window, Lobak. It'll be hilarious. They're sentient, but who cares?
Genocide on a nest.
Especially Jason, like, who's supposed to be loving of all creatures. He's like, bug go brr.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then a bunch of them are drowning and stuff. It's just awful. But I guess they did attack them outright. So
yeah,
you
but still,
yeah,
it'd be like if in the Jedi Academy trilogy, when Akbar hits the Cathedral of Winds, like, the cathedral go boom.
Not mine. I don't care.
Furpine squishy.
You shouldn't have put it there, should you?
But yeah, I guess that kind of brings us to Zek,
Mm.
where like the rest of the Jedi storyline, they escape. They find out it was Yfra. Tenelka decides not to tell Ta Chum until she tries to kill them all again, basically. Uh,
Yeah.
which I questionable. They
Mm-hmm.
have a big gotcha moment, like the end of all Murder She Wrote episodes, where Ta Chum lays out the case.
I'm not that like you keep saying these Murder She Wrote references, and like I can understand the premise of the show enough to kind of get what you're saying, but I haven't seen Murder She Wrote, Corey.
I
Like
haven't seen much of it, but Dana loves it, so
you've seen enough. You don't know who Chad Michael Murray is, but you know all about Murder She Wrote. Like how fucking old are you?
look, I used to be a normal age for my age. Dana likes baking, crochet, and murder. She wrote. What?
Yeah, true. And it's like Charlie's the 27-year-old who thinks he's 18, and you're the 27-year-old who thinks he's
92.
50, 92. Okay, I was gonna say 58, but
So we're both 92. We accept that. And I'm going to keep making references to shows that I barely understand. I'm mostly just
well,
saying these things so that Dana might hear me saying them and be mildly amused by our podcast. And that's really what we're here for, to mildly amuse some people.
can you tell Dana to send me? Say she's got one episode of Murder She Wrote to convince me.
I
I'll
don't think
watch
she
it.
cares, but I'll
Well,
ask
she
her.
should. Okay.
But yeah, so Tachum has her gotcha moment. Ifra goes in jail. Tenennial and Isolde come back and are like, hey, maybe you can be a Jedi, but like maybe spend some time with us too for the next
Mm-hmm.
couple of weeks. And
Yeah.
I thought like maybe a week, maybe a couple of days. It was like a couple of weeks. Okay. I guess there's nothing urgent that Luke has to do, like teach them how to use these weapons he's told them to construct and never decided to, check
Mm-hmm.
out. But but yeah, so we have Zek at the Shadow Academy for this whole book, becoming the Darkest Knight, and he's accepting of Brachus's lessons, uh, but
He's thriving.
He's competing with Velis. So Zek is kind of the Darth Bane to uh, what's that other guy's name in Darth Bane, the first one? Circus,
Yeah. Yeah.
where yeah,
They're just
so
they're just student rivals in a dark academy. So.
yeah, so Brachus is kind of training up Zek, and then Tamith Kai, Gwazine Kai,
Mm-hmm.
and other person is training via Velis, and there's a big epic showdown at the end. And Coral, MVP that he is, says,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, what if we don't make them kill each other?"
They're like, aren't you just a TIE pilot who sometimes flies shuttles? Why are you in the room with the high command? He's like, TIE go brr. It's like, that's why we keep him on.
Yeah, then Brachus claps.
Robbie's like, yeah, let's talk to Palpatine again.
But yeah, so Palpatine left around a surprising number of recordings that said the word Zek in them. And they're able to reconstruct that into this fake Palpatine still, who is pulling the strings, turning Zek into his darkest night. And these guys are convinced that they're going to take over the galaxy on the backs of like 6 Dark Jedi and as many hyperdrives and turbo laser turrets that could fit in a single freighter from last book. So what are you
Yeah.
putting the Vegas odds on the Shadow Academy and the Second Imperium taking over the galaxy at? What are we sitting at, like 2-1?
It's not looking great, I gotta say. I wouldn't be. I mean, I might put them on my pro line along with a safe hockey pick, like for some good returns, but it's not looking good. I mean, the fact that that one freighter with like a couple guns and like maybe a hyperdrive is like drastically increasing their military strength is probably not a great sign. And like Brackus should probably know that. Like he should probably know Palion's not involved in this, so it's probably not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look, points for trying, but not very many points because they're not doing very well at their try.
I'm not giving them points for trying. I like the idea of making an army of Dark Jedi, but like the army at this point is being led by Zek, who's been in school for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's been in school for basically as long as their vacation from the Jedi Academy was to go and see Tenelka.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you know what? He thinks he's a Jedi Knight. He kind of reminds me of my tabletop character in Edge of Despair Series 2, who goes into a bunch of Sith temples and like, wow, look at all this Jedi stuff. Only unironically. And I don't know. Zach, you could have just said, hey, can I go to your school for child soldiers? And then Luke would have been like, yeah, let's do that. I will gladly arm you.
And I will teach you more than any other student because you're friends with my niece and nephew.
Yeah. I do like Jason's reaction when they got to the palace. Like, wow, you're moderately richer than we are.
Well, at least more extravagantly rich. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jason is walking around with like a $2 trillion gem that he's using as a battery. So,
yeah, it's like,
well, not a battery, but to power his or
like a lens.
Focus his rep.
It's like, yeah, he's got his like flashlight with the little, like, unexplainably expensive gem in there. After Luke forced him to, because Luke's like, this is gonna be way easier for some of you, Jason. Jason's like, actually, I kind of wanted to buy a PS5 with that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that the color it makes was it green?
Yeah, it's green.
It's kind of lame. I was hoping for.
There's some pretty wild colors in this one though. Like
Babaka's
bronze, Tenel Ka's first one is white, and then she gets a blue
turquoise,
one later on.
Yeah. Jaina's is purple. And she sticks with purple forever, doesn't she?
Yep.
I think Jason goes between like green and blue a couple times. Loi's always bronze. Or no, Jason's always green and Anakin's is blue, I think.
Jason gets like red concept art or red art like when he's Kaidos. I don't remember him making a second lightsaber.
I think he... I can't remember the duel between him and Jaina anymore, where she was luckily trained by Jedi killing experts. In Mandalorians. Yeah.
Jedi killing experts like Jango Fett, who did really well in his duel against Jedi.
I'm surprised that the Ark's advice to Jaina wasn't, okay, first, what you got to do is make him trust you, then outnumber him 63-1.
Yeah, seriously. That would have been interesting. Jaina pretending to be evil, then just getting him when he's sleeping, just right in the kidney.
Jason never would have believed it.
No, you're right.
I don't know. That's going to be some interesting conversations coming up. But for now, it's just Jason being arguably more evil, just rampaging through all these poor bugs.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no, that's right.
Yeah.
Anything else about the main plot line you'd like to speak about here? Do you think Luke should have told the kids? Well, I guess he couldn't have hidden it anymore because. Okay, well, actually, one thing we could talk about is what do you think about Tenel Ka's decision not to get a new arm?
It's not the decision I would make. I can see why she made it, and I like that it's in there. Like I like that you get that through lines like that. It tries to show both Luke's decision process and say that it wasn't necessarily as straightforward a decision as people might think, because like it is this thing that isn't part of you, and maybe like for her it's about like that reminder, like for one thing keeping in control of herself, and it's also a reminder, but there's a lot of stuff about like just bodily autonomy there that I think is good to have in a kid's book. Yeah.
And it's also nice to have a character with a handicap in a book and crushing it. I thought that was nice.
Yeah. So good stuff there. I think that was handled pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I do think that Loie should have, or one of the twins or Loie should have offered to bring Ta Chum down out of the window. Because
they're going to say offer to cut off their own arm in solidarity.
The last scene where they're all standing on the Jedi Temple, where they're all like holding their lightsabers up. Just the other three slice off their left arm.
Jesus Christ!
I do like Isolde's reaction. Like they're away, so they haven't heard what's happened. But the only thing we get as a reaction from them is like, "At least it wasn't your weapon arm." Like,
yeah,
fair enough.
Fair enough. Yep.
Like I definitely get if I ended up cutting my arm off in a lightsaber battle, I would definitely just get the cybernetic arm like Luke has. I can't even guarantee that I wouldn't just get one anyways. Like, who wouldn't want a couple extra?
She's pretty much offered an even better version almost of what Luke got, because she's getting like a pretty much like almost a vat grown arm, kind of like a I guess even just more advanced cybernetic.
Well, they just have a really good 3D printer.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, kind of a dick move to make the woman or make the girl with one arm carry the old lady down the rope.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, she's more capable in 99% of situations than the others, even after she loses her arm. But when you're talking about like going down that rope, just numerically, it doesn't work out quite as well. It's having her both go last, where she's going to be the one under attack the most. And she's got to hold onto the rope when she's still getting used to all this, and also get the old lady down. But unless she's just relying on Tachum to hold on to her. But I'm still not entirely clear on how old or capable. Like, Tachum isn't like a weakling. She's
pretty old though, I think.
She's old. She's, I guess, decently fit, but like her strength isn't supposed to be that she's like super warrior princess. She's more of the like politically savvy survivor in that kind of way. So I don't know if she's like hanging on as they're going down a zip line. It just seems like maybe grab onto Jaina, because they're going down in the middle, but it is the two of them going down together. So maybe that's it, but it's still.
No, I mean, just don't do that. Like, yeah, she's great. Like, with one arm, Tenel Ka's killing it, but you still don't want to put her in a 2-arm competition. Like, who's got the better 2 arms? Just
I don't know. I think her one arm, on average, is better than both of Jason's arms put together.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe not in sheer number. If you're having like a number of fingers,
not in sheer number of arms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look, it's quality over quantity, and that's what Tenel Ka's out here showing.
I'd rather Jason's 2 arms, I think, still.
Because we sit down here just in our basements making Star Wars videos, but if you're telling me, like, if you're lining up Jason and Tenel Ka in front of me, like, you got to be an athlete. Which of these two do you want to be? It's like, okay, I'm gonna be Tenel Ka.
And the first thing I'll do is get a cybernetic arm.
Yeah, because I don't have the same reasons not to get it. So you're right, that it all works out.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to final thoughts and take a look at some emails?
We should. What are your final thoughts?
Pretty epic book. Really enjoyed it. The series continues to impress. I really like this book. I thought it was fun to visit Hapes. I guess before reading the series, I thought a lot more of it took place just on Yavin, so it's been a nice sort of kind of surprise, I guess.
Yeah, there's actually been very little that happens on Yavin. The first book was entirely on Yavin. Third book was like almost entirely Coruscant and a bit in the Shadow Academy. There was almost no Yavin there. Second book was a lot of the Shadow Academy. But what do you think about... What would your ranking of the 4 that we've done so far? Because we haven't been ranking these in with our main book rankings, which we're at the end of the 14 books, we're going to kind of place them in a group. Yeah. But what have you thought so far?
It's hard. I think Lost Ones is maybe the one. Actually, I don't know. I think 2 or 3 is probably at the very bottom. I still really like them though. So I'd say 2 and 3 is kind of the lower tier, and then 4 and 1 are higher tier. I guess I'd probably like this one the most, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. What about you?
Like, I think this is a pretty clear favorite for me of the 4 that we've done. And I was even thinking going in that this was going to be my favorite, even though it's been quite some time since I've actually read them. So this one, then probably the first one, then Shadow Academy, then the Lost Ones. Okay. The only thing I really remember about the Lost Ones is Zek eating the salad that isn't a salad. So yeah, not a lot of high highs in that one. Peckham's Mirror Station.
Yeah.
But I think we're starting to get into the point where I know I read most of these growing up. It's just I don't think I had all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure which ones I had. So I think we're going to start getting into the ones that I didn't, where I might not have read them. Because I think I read this and then Darkest Night, which I think is the next one.
Yeah.
And then
I remember
after
that
that,
one quite well.
I might not have actually read any after that. I don't remember. Because I
Yeah,
basically
and-
just had whatever I could find in bookstores at that point.
Yeah, and the next one they go to Kashyyyk, I'm pretty sure, because I remember that one quite well. I had that one.
Time to Get Lumpy.
Time to Get Lumpy. All right, so yeah, we both like this book, and we are getting into possible baby territory. So maybe we'll have an episode next week, maybe not. Are you planning on doing anything solo or with any guests when I'm gone? Do you know?
Not for Tapcaf transmissions, but
Okay. Yeah,
I'm not
figured as
gonna.
much. I just wanted to.
I'm not gonna do anything without you here, because we're like two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Without one side, then it's all heads. Wait, that sounds
Or all
good.
tails.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna be taking a hiatus. For unless Charlie wants to read some Young Jedi Knights books. Actually, let's go into Junior Jedi Knights, and me and Charlie will do some episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
we'll talk about it. No, that works. We'll talk.
But yeah,
about it.
so we may or may not have an episode next week. And then if we have one next week, there's a very low chance of one the week after that. But there will be 2 or 3 weeks where we don't have episodes.
If we have one next week, I think we'll almost certainly not have one the week after.
Yeah.
Because that will be... Kelsey will be 41 weeks at that point. And
we're entering the 82nd trimester.
That's like... people were talking about their babies the other day, so I quickly Googled myself and was like, oh yeah, I'm however many months old now. They're like, oh yeah, my little kid's 16 months. I was like, oh yeah, I was 200 and whatever months the other day.
Yeah.
Anyway, not that funny.
You're really coming along great.
Yeah. So, do you want to read the first question?
Yeah. So our first email for this week was actually from Asher, who is doing his comic adaptation. So he emailed us the first of his NJO ones. If he wants to tweet at us with that, then we will retweet it at Tapcaf Transmissions.
Yeah, I read his Vector Prime one. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Nice mediator in there.
So Asher, if you want to just hit us up on Twitter with that one, and we will retweet that there.
Yep. Then we also had one from Joel, who says, I have 2 questions regarding the post-Endor era of new canon. Do you think that more stories take place in the 30-year gap between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens? Do you think that as more stories take place, that they will clarify, flesh out, or slightly ignore some of the more questionable lore decisions in Aftermath, like the demilitarization of the New Republic? They've kind of already done that. They've already provided lots more context with more books, so I think they'll probably continue to do so.
Yeah. That seems to be the way it's going. Even the Squadrons campaign is them getting the Starhawk and stuff. So, and that's not really a spoiler, I get. That if you didn't know.
Yeah, that was before Jakku, though. They demilitarized after.
Yeah, but it's still there's still some elements of buildup happening there, and then elements of it stick around, and there's still elements of the demilitarization, but then you get more information about the resistance going on, and that we do know there's still Imperials around, but
yeah, no, that's a good point. He also asked, on a scale of the Shadow Academy to Warlord Zinj, with Zinj being the strongest, how powerful would you guess Moff Gideon's Imperial faction is in Mandalorian? I feel like it's really small, maybe a sector or 2.
Yeah, I feel like it's closer to the Shadow Academy end of things, but I don't think Gideon thinks that it's as powerful as Brackus thinks he is, or that fake Palpatine thinks he is here. I think Gideon seems to have a decent idea of what their actual influence would be, so I'm more forgiving of that. But anything is made 10 times better by having Giancarlo Esposito as part of it. So
yeah,
that alone makes it much better.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably going to be small scale, and that's kind of how we both like it, I think.
Yeah, keep it so that it's enough of a scale that the individual characters will still matter there and not have to get super tied up in like broader galactic stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone just crashed here. The next one's from Jacob, who says, "Dear Eck and Corey, just want to say before I got into the question, longtime fans of both your channels, thank you very much. How Jason is now, how does time with Vergier and the Yuuzhan Vong change or mature him that it didn't do to his friends and his sister?" Well, he was tied to a really nasty chair for a while. I think is a big part of that. And he had a lot more direct time with Vergier when he was captured by the Vong.
Yeah,
that is the biggest thing.
There's a lot in this, and like part of it would also go to, if you want to pick an equivalent experience for Jaina and Loie, the Killik stuff. And there's actually a lot to this question that we'll be going over pretty frequently as we get into the later parts of the Yuuzhan Vong War and Dark Nest and Legacy of the Force. So it's hard to give like a quick answer to it, where like I feel like it's clear that like Jason with Vergier kind of got the seeds planted that allowed him to become the Sith Lord later, and it almost made Jason have kind of the hero complex where it's like, oh no, it has to be me, that Anakin had almost. Where Jaina didn't end up going through that the same way, where she was more able to take, or she'd be more likely to call individual things her responsibility, but she never got quite to the same thing that like the whole galaxy is hinging on my every decision, and if I don't do it, then if I don't tell everyone what to do, then it's all gonna suck. And I think a good part of that comes for Jason through his time with Vergier.
Yeah.
Or his willingness to believe that when Lumaya tells him it. I don't love the whole thing where like, oh, actually Vergier was Sith. I don't love that, but no, I do think the idea behind it of like this is something that Vergier was imparting to him, and maybe she was obviously corrupted in some way and kind of passed that on to Jason, and then Lumaya capitalized on that. Like, I have no problem believing Vergier and Lumaya were in league in some way with that, but the whole Vergier is Sith. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting. She's just a Jedi or a former Jedi who has kind of different views about how to best protect the galaxy or whatever.
And who got super fucked up by her own time with the Vong. Like,
yeah, just calling everything Jedi and Sith is way too simplistic, and I think that's the main problem people have with that retcon, in my opinion. It removes, there's nuance for the character. Okay, like, yeah, she's like this and she's got her reasons, but and they're just like, oh no, actually she's just a Sith the whole time. It kind of removes like nuance from her character, and almost like agency in a way as well. But
yeah, agents of chaos.
Personal agency of chaos. Yeah.
Well, I'd hate to be a traitor to the podcast, but I think that's going to do it. We're going to find our unifying force for our channels later tonight when we're playing some Beerio Kart in about 50 minutes over on X2. Do you have any thoughts as we choose our vector that's going to be a prime way to get out of this podcast, Justin?
Rebel stand. Shit. Yeah. No, I can't think of any more puns.
Well, we'll have to do some closing thoughts, and we'll go with star by star for each podcast host. You're the first star here, so if you want to have any more thoughts come out now, anything you want to...
Just leave a review on the podcast. I think Corey's going to try to cut me off here. Leave a review on iTunes or wherever. I don't think we got any of the juicy reviews that we were saying last time. If you want to read or leave a review... maybe what's a word that we should have them incorporate this time? I think greasy would be fun.
We use greasy, like you use greasy too much.
Okay. Slimy?
And I'm not saying you should use greasy less. I don't think that should be our podcast review call word. I'm not telling you to change who you are. Be as greasy as you got to be there, bud. But for our podcast review word,
Well, just leave a review. We'll take a look. If there's any funny ones, we'll read them next episode.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I've got to say.
That's it for me. Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Unless you're going to go watch Beerio Kart.
If I don't see you for a few weeks, be safe.
We will have information on the Tapcaf Transmissions Twitter on what's going on there. And I'm sure if you follow either of our YouTube channels, then you'll see whether there's videos coming out or if there's any intros to X videos that explain the situation for him. But do you think there's anyone that listens to the podcast that came in just through the podcast and doesn't watch either of our stuff? Is there a person who does that?
I'd say if we have 100 podcast listeners, which we don't, but just to keep it nice, I'd say there's maybe 3.
Okay.
So 3%. Yeah. All
right. Well, with that, let us know if you're one of those people as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear that. Send us an email.
But that is tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com. We are Corey and Justin.